Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. Today I'll just be doing a quick introduction video of myself as well as all the animals that will be featured on my channel. So let's get started really quick. I'll quickly introduce myself and then we'll move on to all the animals. My name's Vanessa. I'm 19 years old. I've been taking care of animals since I was about 3 when I got my first puppy. I had your pretty stereotypical traditional pets, dog, fish, stuff like that. It wasn't until I was 7 when I got my first non-traditional pet, which was a fire-bellied toad named Fire. Since then, my collection has grown tremendously, and I have quite a handful of animals with me. Um, let's get started on introducing you to all the animals. Alrighty, since I already have this one out, we'll start here. This is Mac and Cheese. He's the first snake I ever got. He's a little bit over a year old. I got him last June. He is a mixture of ghost, pastel, and clown, I believe. I got him from a local breeder, and I was just fortunate enough to find a breeder who actually only lived about 5 miles away. So I emailed her instantly as soon as I saw this one, and I was like, I want this one. Shortly after contacting the breeder, I was able to take this beautiful boy home, and he has been with me ever since. Honestly, he was the best thing to ever happen to me in 2020, and honestly, it just keeps getting better and better, especially as my little group, my little posse of animals continues to get bigger. With Mac and Cheese, I would say one of his favorite things to do is get himself into tight spaces, especially places that he does not fit, that he is too big for. He definitely likes to feel secure, but we get ourselves stuck in a lot of things, from walls, like drywall, to logs. We just absolutely love shoving ourselves in spaces that we don't fit. But that is the ball python way, especially a shy boy like Mac. But anyways, we will get moving on to his sister, who is much less shy, a lot more curious, and a lot bigger. Alrighty, so now I have Avaline. She's also a ball python. She was a rehome to me. I got her, I think, in October of last year. My cousin texted me and he's like, hey, do you want another ball python? I know somebody who needs to rehome theirs. And at first I was like, oh, I don't know if I can handle having another one. I was just moving into my apartment. I didn't know if I was going to have the time or the money or the space to add another snake. And so at first I said no, and then I gave it some thought. And then my next plan was to take her in, but I would just sell her. So then that would kind of solve everybody's problems. I would have the money, she would get rehomed, everybody would be happy. So when my cousin ended up dropping her off, he was like, yeah, so they told me that, if you stick your hand in, she'll strike at you. She's kind of aggressive. So I was like, well, the people that I know that want to buy a ball python, this is their first reptile, this is their first snake. So the last thing I want to do is give somebody who might not be as well, like, as knowledgeable as I am or as patient as I am with animals. I don't want to give them an aggressive snake that they might not be prepared for. So it's like, okay, well, once she settles in, I'll start working with her, see where her aggression is, what causes it, stuff like that. Yeah, as soon as she was settled in, I started working with her. She shows absolutely no signs of aggression. I can stick my hand in there, I can move stuff around. Literally, the only time she has ever been aggressive towards me is, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. We didn't have a perfect shed. Her eye caps stayed on. Everything else was fine, but her eye caps stayed on, so I had to work with her on getting that off. So she wasn't very happy with me while I was poking her eye, but that's kind of understandable. I would be a little mad at somebody poking my eye too, so I don't really blame her on that one. If I got bit that day, I would have fully deserved it. So I'm really not too worried about her. She is definitely my most human-loving snake. She will sit inside her log and poke her head out, and she'll just stare at me. When I used to work from home, my bed used to be right up against her cage. So then she would come out and she'd lay up against the edge closest to my bed while I was laying on my bed doing my work. She will literally come, like, if you come in, she'll come out of her hut and she'll show off, and she absolutely loves human attention. So I'm not sure where all the aggression was coming from before. or even if there was aggression, maybe it was just confused for something else, who knows. But she definitely has, she has a love for people. She like is so different compared to Mac and Cheese. Mac and Cheese wants nothing to do with you. He'll sit with you and stuff, but he really doesn't want much to do with you. Where Aveline, she is super adventurous, she's super curious. She loves to get into everything. She loves being out of her cage just as much as she loves being in her cage. But she definitely is more social than Mac and Cheese is. Um, as you can see, she is constantly moving around, trying to figure out what's going on. Throughout the time that I've been making the video, she's been through my sleeves, she's been up and under. She has been everywhere. She doesn't sit still very long, but she does like to be right up against you, where Mac and Cheese is more likely to go find somewhere else to be while he's laying with you. Aveline will probably just stay in like a sleeve or in a pocket or something like that. She still wants to be up against you, but she does enjoy spending time outside of her cage. She is definitely a lot more social, a lot more curious, and a lot more people-loving than her brother. But now I'm going to introduce you to the last snake that I have. She is the youngest. You can kind of see her in the background, but I'll give her a little bit more of a proper introduction. She doesn't really like to be grabbed or touched or anything. It does stress her out. So I am going to leave her in the cage, but I'll film from outside of her cage. You can see her right here, but I will get a little bit of a closer shot of her and just not take her out, just so I don't stress her out. This is Morganite. She's an albino snow corn snake, and she's the youngest of the three, and she's about 3 months old. As you can see here, she does have a little bit of a wound. She had a bad run-in with my roommate's cat, and after a trip to the vet ER, we did get some ointment and some oral medicine. I do have a little bit of her healing journey up on my TikTok if you want to go check that out. Anyways, since she's been healing, she has been on a bare bottom tank with just a paper towel, and she absolutely loves to dig and bury herself. So the last month of her healing has been incredibly stressful for her. She hasn't been able to dig and do all the stuff that she really loves. So since most of her wounds were completely healed over, I decided now was the perfect time to start a bioactive substrate. During her healing process, we minimized her tank. The only thing she really had was a cave that she's going into, this dinosaur cave that you see, and then one of those little half logs that is under the ground right where she is right now. She would spend pretty much all of her time in her hides. She really was never coming out. Where now she's spending all of her time sitting out in the open, whether she's on the hot side or the cool side. She'll come and she'll sit up against the glass. A lot of times if she hears that I'm doing something, like while I've been filming, she'll come out of wherever she's hiding from, and she'll come and she'll sit on whichever side of the tank that I'm sitting on. She absolutely loves climbing on her background through these plants. She loves tunneling. So it's definitely been worth trying something new and trying something out of the norm. Soon I'll be making videos on how I've done each of the animals' tanks, just because I absolutely love building and decorating these enclosures. So coming up soon, I will make a video, probably do Morgan's first, because Morgan's tank is probably one of my favorites that I have. So I'll be making videos shortly on how you can recreate what I've done with my animals. But anyways, let's get back to Morganite. So one of my favorite questions about her is where she got her name from. I got the idea put in my head when I was talking to one of my coworkers who's kind of like a father figure to me, and he likes to make fun of the names that I pick out for my animals, because let's be honest, they do have a little bit of a weird name. So I showed him a picture and I was like, okay, Jim, what should I name this one then? And he actually gave me a good idea and suggested that I named her after a stone. His example was rose quartz. But I didn't really like that name, like that's too long, and who wants quartz as a name? So I did a little bit of research, and I actually found out that there's a stone that was pretty much the exact same colors as her called Morganite. So that's where her name comes from the stone Morganite, and then I just call her Morgan for short. So with me now I have Roger. He's my bearded dragon. He's almost 2 years old. I got him after a really bad breakup. It was the day after, and I had decided what better way to pump some serotonin into my little brain than go to the pet store and spend a bunch of money. So my plan was more as to like spend money on the animals I had at the time. I had my fire belly toad Sam, one of my well, not one of my turtles, but my turtle, and my dog. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go ham. I'm gonna buy them all this fun stuff, new decorations, new toys, stuff like that. Can you just jump onto my hand, please? Thank you. And yeah, so I was just more prepared to buy like toys and stuff. And I told myself, okay, if you're gonna spend money on an animal, why don't you get like a beta or something, you know, something small, something chill. Well, that didn't happen. I walked back to the reptile section and I saw this cute little baby dragon with his little hand up against the glass, and he was glass surfing. It was very clear that he wanted me to take him out, so that's what I did. I asked an employee, I was like, hey, I'm really interested in this bearded dragon. Just to find out that this little guy was on sale. So whoever he was with was not a fan of him. He does have a little bit of a nub of a tail, so some of his tail got bitten off, and then 2 of his toes are also nubs. So he was on sale, mostly probably just like because he's imperfect or whatever. So I decided then and there that it was time to take him home. Most of the time, I'm not a fan of people impulsively buying animals, yet I'm the queen of it. But I've also been doing research on these animals. I mean, I've wanted a bearded dragon since I was like 2. So, I had the supplies. I knew what I was doing. And so that's when I got Roger. I decided, you know what? 1 more won't hurt. And now I have 10. But it's okay. They are literally my life. Roger came at the perfect timing just because that breakup was incredibly rough. I was still in college at that point. That was right before I dropped out. And he would sit with me on my laptop because a lot of my homework was online and at home. So he would sit with me at my laptop and we would watch the videos and we would do the homework together, and he would just sit there and he would just relax, and it was just really fun. It's kind of like having a dog around, except for his nails are just a little bit sharper and he is not fuzzy. But he does, I mean, he plays catch, he plays catch. That's about it. But yes, somebody is just very not sitting still, but that's okay. But yeah, so yeah, this is Roger. Roger definitely has a lot of sass to him. The best way to get to his heart is with food, but not with greens. He does not like greens. The only thing that I can get him to eat is his bok choy. But otherwise, if you have bugs, he will love you forever. But otherwise, he doesn't really want to deal with you, honestly. He's very sassy. He's very opinionated for a lizard, but that's okay. A lot of my animals are very opinionated. I think they get that from me, honestly. But we'll move on to the next group. Do you have to do this every 3 seconds? Seriously. But we'll move on to the next group. Since somebody clearly does not want to be in the video anymore. So we are going to move on to the next group of animals. Here I have my White's tree frog pair. The green one in the back is Pluto, and the red one up front is Cherry. I got these 2 as a gift for myself on my 19th birthday last year. Now, I'll be honest, you won't see these 2 on the channel very often just because tree frogs really aren't an animal that I like to take out and hold and handle and stuff. They pretty much typically just stay in their enclosure unless I really need to take them out. So most of the time, they're just really not going to be featured on the channel, but they still deserve a proper introduction. Cherry here up front, she loves to kind of be by herself. She hangs out more in the mid area of the tank, where Pluto there in the back, he loves to be up top and out in the open where you can see him, where Cherry loves to hide and doesn't really like to be somewhere where you can see her. Pluto here is a social butterfly. He loves to be out and about, right where you can see him, right up front, mostly so that he is the first to get fed because I can always find him first. These 2 are definitely a lazy bunch. They really don't do much. During the day, they're typically asleep. Right now, they're only awake because I was rearranging and cleaning their enclosure. But other than that, they're usually asleep until I'm starting to get off work. And they'll usually wake up because I usually feed them more towards nighttime when they would naturally be waking up. Other than that, I really don't see them too often. Pluto I'll see pretty much every day. Usually he sits out somewhere where I can see him. But Cherry, if I need to look for her, I definitely have to dig for her. It's not very often I just see her out sitting like this, like she is right now. This is my oldest, Richard. She's a Redeared Spider. I've had her since 2010. For my 9th birthday, I was given a gift card and a 10-gallon aquarium by some really close friends. And they asked my mom if it was okay if I used that gift card to purchase a turtle. My mom told me if I did my research that I could get one, so I spent 2 months researching turtles before finally getting her in September. Yes, I know her name's Richard and she's a girl. When I first got her, I thought she was a boy, and I was naming her after my great-grandpa who had just passed away. And at that time, I only knew my great-grandpa by Dick, which is a nickname for Richard. And so when the associate at the pet store was asking me what I was going to name my turtle, I looked her in the eyes and I said, Dick. And now that I think about it now, she really tried really hard not to laugh right in my face, which I give her props for that. And so I'm telling everybody in the store my turtle's name is Dick. And finally my mom's like, great-grandpa's name was not Dick. He was actually named Richard. And I was like, oh, I like that so much better. So we took her home. And, at the time, I'm still thinking that she's a boy. And about 2 years later, she became gravid and started laying eggs. And that's when I found out that Richard was no longer a boy. At that point, though, it was 2 years later. I decided to just stick with the name. The name had meaning and had story behind it. So I decided to stick with the name. So now, almost 11 years later, she is still Richard. I'll have plenty of Richard content. But for right now, we need to switch over to the next group. This is my 29-gallon community tank. I was kind of going for more of a river-type theme. And as you can see, yellow and oranges are kind of my focal points in this aquarium. I have several different species in this tank. I have several different kinds of danios. I have pearl danios, long-finned leopard danios, zebra danios. I have some black tetras and some neon tetras. I have several different types of guppies. I have blonde delta. I have Dumbo. I think I have one pink tuxedo in here. I also have a pair of twin platies. I also do have ram cichlids. I did my research, and ram cichlids are okay in a community tank. They're more of a community fish, and they're less aggressive than your average cichlid. So I have a Bolivian, I have a gold, and I have a blue ram in here. I also have some cories down at the bottom, as well as several different species of shrimp. I do have a really pretty red one somewhere in this tank, but he is the best at hiding, while the rest of these two, they like to sit under the filter and the plants that are by the filter specifically, but right under, you can see over here by the tube that there's Here's just a more close-up of some of the fish that I have in this tank. As you can see, I really like the bright colors, the shiny colors, and they just fit so perfectly with this build that I did about a week ago, I think, is when I changed their setup. But yeah, here's my guppies. I'm hoping soon to breed the 2 Dumbos just because they are so pretty, but I just don't think that the females are going to produce the best looking fish. I've been trying to breed guppies for a while, and I haven't been really getting the results that I've been wanting. The guppies that I have, the females are all just a plain yellow, and when their babies come out, the babies are also a plain yellow. I have maybe 2 guppies that have been bred captive here that have not been the plain yellow once they grew up, but most of them, once they grow up, they end up just being that plain yellow. And I seem to just not have any luck with getting male guppies. I just keep breeding, and all I'm getting is females. I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong. I've gotten 1 male guppy bred since about June of 2020. So it's been almost a year, and all that my fish have popped out are females. Which actually, we'll move on next over to that aquarium. That's a 10-gallon in my bathroom. I have about 3 or 4 adult fish in there. There's 1 male, 3 females, and the rest are fry. Right now I'm experimenting to see what will happen with one of the blondes being with the yellow, to see if maybe I can get some orange out of these babies. And hoping that with a different male, maybe I can have some males being popped out too. I've always absolutely been in love with guppies ever since I was little. And lately I've been breeding them to put as fish in the turtle tank, because now that she's older, she is more likely to leave the fish in the tank. Right now she has one minnow in her enclosure, but over the years I've learned that minnows are not healthy for turtles and guppies are better. So I started breeding the guppies so that I could start putting them in Richard's tank. But I've also been trying to experiment and see just what I can come up with these guppies. I'm not breeding seriously. I'm just more doing it for fun and as an experiment, just to see what kind of combinations I can get out of these very basic guppies. This enclosure I like to call the coral reef. I've had this coral piece here from PetSmart probably since I was about 10 when I got my first actual aquarium. I have had to repaint it, so please excuse my really, really bad paint job. But yeah, I've been obsessed with this coral look, this coral reef look, and guppies are the perfect freshwater fish to really make it look like it's a saltwater tank because they're so bright and colorful. They come in so many different patterns, different sizes, different shapes. So I love using the guppies with this coral reef look. Next, we have my Bulldog Bentley. We adopted him when he was 2.5 years old. He 100% has an attitude issue. He makes the weirdest faces. He snores super loud. His favorite things are to eat and sleep. I do have some videos of him coming up soon, but for now, I'm going to keep it nice and simple and quick just because I am running out of time. And we'll start getting ready to introduce the next animal. So this is Mr. Pickles. He's my long-haired hamster. I got him, I think in September or October, just because I, again, had just moved into my apartment, and I really had missed having a dog around, and I used to have rats before I moved out, but shortly before I moved out, they did pass away. So I definitely missed having something fuzzy around, so I decided to go and get Mr. Pickles. He is, besides my dog, he is the only mammal that I have that I guess hamsters could be considered like a traditional pet, but not that many people really have hamsters anymore. But yeah, this is Mr. Pickles. He gets his name from a game I used to play as a child. There's this Wii game that was a vet game that I used to play all the time that had a little hamster the exact same color as him named Pickles. So I just added the Mister to it. I don't know why. Because I'm weird like that, I guess. But yeah, he doesn't really come out to play very often, just because he is nocturnal. Every once in a while, like right now we're out, but every once in a while we will hang out, typically at 2 o'clock in the morning when neither of us can sleep. Really the only time I know that he is still alive, because he usually is buried in all of his bedding. So really the only time I know he's alive is when he is running on his wheel at 2 o'clock in the morning. And also I just noticed that his food and his water is constantly going down. And he likes to pick and choose what he eats, because I try to give him a variety every day. And so typically the same thing is always left out of in his food bowl. So just, I think that's very clear not to buy him that food again because he does not like it. Look at him. Like, how could you say no to that face? He's just so cute. But anyways, yeah, he is kind of a stinker. He does like to get out of his cage. I would say that's probably his favorite thing to do, is escape. He is constantly finding new ways to get his way through. He has chewed through his lid, the lid that I have. I have a plastic lid that came with Roger's cage that didn't let through a whole lot of UVB lights, so I switched it to a regular mesh lid, and put the lid, like, it's more of a plastic. I put that on Mr. Pickles' cage, and he has chewed through it. So I think I will be getting him a different type of lid, just to stop the escaping, because he is notorious for escaping, and typically he'll be escaping around 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning when he is, awake. And he likes to climb on top of my bed and lick my face. I didn't know that hamsters like to lick, but he likes to lick my face, or he'll sit and he'll sniff my face and he'll walk all over it. almost as a like, hey mom, look, I got out. So yeah, right now I have a bunch of weights and a bunch of boxes and stuff on top of his cage to try to keep him in. But if I don't perfectly put everything in the most perfect spot, he will find a way out. He is very good at it. But I'll be honest, because I know there's going to be somebody that's like, oh, you're so irresponsible, your animals get out of their cages. Well, when you have as many animals as I do and you tell people that your animals have never escaped, I'm going to have to automatically believe that you're lying, because I don't know too many people who own, especially snakes. If a snake owner who's had snakes for years tell you that their snakes have never escaped, I can almost guarantee you they're lying. It's just part of having animals. Animals are, you know, when we keep them as pets, they are going to try to escape. That's just how they are. But we do everything we can to avoid it. But there's only so much you can do when your hamster, who only lives for 2+ years, is smarter than you. So yeah, but yes, this is Mr. Pickles. Let's say one last goodbye. Look at that cute little face. Alrighty, we'll let him go back to bed, and then I am going to bring out the last and final animal for the night, and then we'll be all done. In this bin, I have my mealworm colony. I've been breeding mealworms, I think I started June of 2020. I literally started out with 100 mealworms from PetSmart, and now I literally have hundreds. They're probably one of the easiest feeders to breed. All you have to do is make sure that they're fed, and they will do all the breeding themselves. It probably took about a month for them to start like actually laying eggs. And then since then, I have never had a shortage of mealworms. I had oats in here, but it has since then turned into dirt. They do eat the cardboard, the egg crate, the pieces of paper that I put in. I also give them scraps from Roger and the other animals, but that's pretty much it. They're really not that interesting, so I'm not even going to keep going on about them, and I'll move on to the next colony. Last but not least, I have my dubia roach colony. I started breeding dubias in October of 2020. I haven't had the best of luck just because just recently my last male died. I only had 5 males and about 15 females, but all 5 of the males died. So right now all I have are females and then a couple of juveniles and then the babies, which does me no good. Soon, later on, I'll be getting just males in. Might get a couple more females, and then I'll put them in a bin like I have the mealworms, and hopefully that'll help, just so that I can get some more being produced. But I gotta say, for being somebody who's terrified of roaches, I definitely like having these guys around. They're really fun to play with. They're interesting to watch. I used to absolutely hate roaches, but now I literally will try and pick these ones up. Dubias really are kind of shy. They don't really like to be picked up or anything. They're more than likely to run and jump, but they are still kind of cool to watch. All right, guys, that's all that I have for you today. Thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw, if you could just give a thumbs up and subscribe. If you hit the little bell, it'll give you notifications for when I post next. I have a bunch of posts thought up in my head of what I want to do. I'll show you guys the terrarium and aquarium builds. I would love to do, I have to clean out the mealworm bin, so I'll show you guys how to set up your own mealworm bin and how to start breeding mealworms, because it's really easy, honestly. And I have some bioactive builds coming up. I've already started with the snakes and the tree frogs and everything. I just have to get the cleanup crew, so once I get that going, I'll make some videos about bioactive and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely recommend subscribing and hitting that little notification bell just so that you can stay updated with everything I have going on. Plus, you don't want to miss what if I get a new animal. I mean, I wouldn't want to miss that. So definitely hit the notification button so that you get notified. But other than that, you guys have a good rest of your day. I'll see you next time.